The moon boys blast straight through the stratosphere and head directly into the gigasphere. Is it going to be all sunshine and rainbows for the Pumpy Squadron? Well, let's just say the gist is nearly loose. So if busting through the gigasphere into millions, potentially billions of dollars is something that makes you happy, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to Famex below if you'd like to buy Bitcoin, altcoins or trade. And without any further ado or magu, let's absolutely do a deep dive into what's happening with the price of Bitcoin. Clearly at this point we are above the previous lower high set at the end of August, a little over a month ago, around about $65,000. Currently Bitcoin has pushed above it and even received so far one daily close above it. Now you might say that's big, that's great, but let's look for something a little bit bigger. If we take a look on the weekly chart for Bitcoin, I think this is really important. We see that the last time on the weekly chart, that as you can see right here, if I get rid of this line, the last time that we received a cross, a bullish cross on the weekly MACD after being extremely overextended and basically entering a nice pumpy, this basically triggered when Bitcoin was about 27,000. It ran up to new all-time highs around 74,000. And then the MACD got a little overheated and it had a little bit of a, 7-month dump high. But alas, you can see now we are about to get our first bullish cross since then. Now the last time we see something anywhere similar to this on this chart is all the way back, if I actually zoom out a little bit, all the way back in August of 2021, after Bitcoin's massive move to the upside that took us to about 61 or 62,000 right before entering it, putting in its all-time high. And this is where altcoins really went completely bananas. Bitcoin squeaked out into all-time high by a couple $1,000s up to about 69,000. Nice. But for the most part, it was altcoins that had the crazy gains. Right now, that's one similarity on the MACD. But if you look at that, it's actually not even similar at all to where we are currently in the cycle. Basically, I just made a comparison between this point here and this point here in terms of basically what happened. But do I think we're anywhere close to this type of situation where we have a couple more months than it's blow off top? Not at all. And I want to make a case for why I think that. But also I do want to note that after this massive upside move, remember we had that dumpy, then we had this bullish cross. But then right after we got the bullish cross, after pumping from 29,000 up to about 53,000. It then took a couple weeks and actually went all the way back down to about 40. So after we got the bullish cross on the RSI, we actually had a little bit of a dump for a few weeks, but then we ultimately ended up going up. So all I'm saying here is just because we get a bullish cross right here doesn't immediately mean oh, bullish cross is in, time to go straight up. No. Last time it actually happened to this scale, or at least, after such a massive drawdown, after before that an even bigger pump, it actually dumped a little bit first and then lifted off. It kind of just retested. Now I do want to make the case for why, though I think there are similarities, but why I think it's actually pretty different. One of them being is that back here when we had this, initial massive March pump, pull back for months and then got a bullish cross, maybe similar to we're seeing now, that was in August of 2021. Well, in August of 2021, that was right about here on the chart, meaning the halving was quite literally hundreds and hundreds of days in the past, and we were within about 100 days until the top, meaning we only had about 100 days left in the bull market last time it happened. This time it's possible we have almost 400 days left of the bull market, meaning the halving was way more recent than it was the last time we had a similar MACD cross back in the last bull market. So that is to say, I think that really, we haven't seen anything yet. I don't think we're close at all yet to a top for Bitcoin or for altcoins, but I do just think, again, history is never going to repeat exactly. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying just because we're getting across here, and we have exactly this many days, and then it's gonna, all I'm saying is there's similarities, it might rhyme a little bit, and I pointed this out to highlight, hey, maybe actually once we get this cross in a week or so, maybe we actually have a little bit of maybe a retest first or go up and then go up. But my point really is I think we have way more. I think objectively, especially considering how the macro has been shifting, the liquidity has been shifting, the cycle has basically just started according to the halving and according to liquidity. which the halvings and liquidity cycles have been very interlinked, like they basically have so far, at least in history, for the past multiple cycles have been kind of, whether coincidentally or not timed exactly the same. Yeah. I mean, I just think that we have way more time to go. But also, if we look, I want to look at this chart on the weekly for Bitcoin, as you said, what I just was pointing out, the MACD switching over. Really, ever since this RSI did start breaking out, things have been starting to heat up very slowly, as most people have been expect. Well, not most people, but I mean, surprisingly, a lot of people in the comments are still somehow bearish. I just don't get it, but that just makes me more bullish, the fact that I see so many bearish comments, because that means a lot of people are probably sidelined or going to miss this move. Or I mean, if you're being honest, you need to have people not think it could ever happen for it to actually happen. If everybody on the planet believes it's going to happen, then it probably won't. But yeah, I mean, I'm still honestly surprised at how many bearish people are still out there. Especially, right, Bitcoin's up a little bit right now. Let's say I post this video and an hour later it dumped $1,000. Look at the comments. People are going to be saying like, oh, I told you, here we go back to 50K, here we go back to 50K, here we go back to 40K, without fail, without fail. And they've been saying that honestly since the end of 2022 as well, and they've been wrong the entire time. Because really, if you go back to the beginning of, or the beginning of 2023, end of 2022, we're up like 300% or something, right? We've just, I mean, we have been going up since then, since right here. It's been an uptrend. It's been a bull market. And basically up until this point for this about year, so many people were thinking, oh, this is completely a bull trap. But then finally, after we broke out here, and especially here, finally some people, a small, I would say, I don't know, maybe it's hard to gauge what percent of people switch to actually say, oh wait, maybe this actually is a bull market, a bull pump. Finally, people started to believe it here. But I mean, I'll tell you, I remember back here, oh my gosh, try posting something bullish in this range. Everybody was just screaming. They were getting so turned on at the idea of, oh, it's the biggest bull trap of all time. And it turns out the bull trap actually went up. So it was a bear trap. Absolutely. With the daily chart also, we have a single daily close above, potentially two, when we get this daily close. As long as we close above like 64,000, that's going to be interesting. Again, clearly this chart illustrates just how much so far of a higher high we've put in, as opposed to these continuing lower highs. Now we have this higher high, so that's big. This channel, this descending channel, look for it as support if we get a retest, if we get a pullback, a drawdown here. Very important that we do not repeat what we did here and what we did here. But to be fair as well, we have this first real higher high in the charts here, which is promising. It's not even close really. I mean, this higher high was about 65 or 64, a little under 65,000. But now it's concretely above it. But I mean, the higher we go, I personally think the more the higher we go, but also especially the longer we stay above it and the more daily. And if we get a weekly or two weekly close above it, that's just more and more confirmation that this is going to continue going up. You see the daily chart with the 200-day moving average as well. The weekly chart with the 21-day moving average, a strong